Yeah, you're right. I did reflect on the fact that our supervisory board is 50-50. The executive management team is 3 out of 7 are women. And of course, the sustainability advisory board that I operate is also 50-50. It's not been a sort of a wholesale shift, right? It's happened over a period of time. As roles have evolved, then recruitment, as I pointed out, we have a policy of a balanced shortlist, so a 50-50 choice, if you like, of candidates. So it's been a gradual shift, but it's very, very consistent with the company's core values, which are about creating brighter lives for everyone, for all. We actually talk about that. So our mindset is very inclusive anyway. Not only about ourselves as employees and as an employer, but as in terms of our responsibility and contribution to society, to all stakeholders. So it's not like it's sort of out of context, right? It seems very natural, very appropriate that an organization and a company that is set up and has the capabilities and the competencies to deliver value for all, it just seems a natural fit. So it's not a big deal in any way. It's a natural progression. Now, earlier in my career, when I worked for an American multinational, in the early 2000s, in the period of Bill Clinton's presidency, in that period in the US there was a positive discrimination policy to pull women leaders through quickly. And I've lived through that, and I've seen the consequences of that, both good and bad. But my philosophy is that if that is what is needed in a different environment, whether it's a different type of company or a different part of the world, I would absolutely do it. The end result pays the dividends. The process for a generation, and here we're talking about a work generation, which is 3 to 5 years, that process isn't perfect, right? Because you're deliberately pulling through a part of the organization, you're breaking, the paradigm and the norms, and inevitably that's not going to be perfect. But the end result is you've broken through that, that sort of built-in inertia of a male-dominated, I hire people that look like me, speak like me, act like me. You break through that in a generation. It's quite disruptive, there's a bit of risk, but then you come out the other side and you've leveled up. So I see that as a very different experience. Well, I think what we all have to do is understand why we are intrinsically motivated, right? I mean, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. What is it that intrinsically motivates you, motivates me, motivates everyone? What are the things that we care about? What is the world that we want to live in? How do we make a better place? And then internalize that. How do I become a better version of myself? And what does that look like? And does that better version of me sort of resonate with the society that I believe we should have for all of us? So I think the starting point is internal. And then it's about having the willpower to try things differently and to be vulnerable and be open. But it's got to be authentic, it's got to come from within, and it's got to be because, well, this is what I think I want to be and this is the world I want to see. Well, for me personally, it's never been anything that I've thought about. I mean, from my childhood experience, through my extended family, I come from a very sort of egalitarian sort of family setup. Sort of a track record of teachers and tax advisors. I'm the black sheep. I went into business, right? So for me personally, it's not been something that I've thought about consciously, but as I've been explaining today, I gave a couple of examples of, even from that context, how easy it is to be in this sort of default world setting that people like me have created. As I said before, white, middle-aged, middle-class, heterosexual men have created the world that we see as normal, and anything other than that is not normal. And it does need some deep thought to recognize that normality. As I shared earlier today, the experience that I personally had of posting on social media about a very critical topic around system change, but I happened to use a photograph of a panel that I was part of, and everyone else on the panel was like a white male. And all of the chat from that social media post was about that and not about the content, and the frustration and the anger that I felt and the need to justify myself and to explain further that I felt. It took me until preparing for this to get over that, in talking to my colleague who mentors me as I mentor her, and she said, Jeff, you've just experienced everything that I deal with every day. You've been judged not on your words but on everything else. And so I was feeling the anger, the frustration, and I just couldn't process why to that depth. I was just dealing with the surface. You're not listening to my words. I was not dealing with the depth beneath that, which was, you're judging me for something that is not what I'm here about. And I now understand much better that that's what very often women and other minorities feel all the time. It does require depth of thought and to challenge the norms and the stereotypes and the paradigms that we have created. And it's not easy because it's so all-encompassing. Stepping up on the stage, for example, I'm tall, male, relatively fit, one step up's not a problem. Maybe if you're shorter of stature or you're wearing heels, it may be a problem. Where are the steps to get up onto the stage? Those sort of things. As I said, it's about self-reflection, and then having the courage to experiment as a default man. And I would encourage anyone who sees something that default man is doing, call it out in the moment, feedback at the point that it happens, because it's unconscious, and so therefore it's got to be made conscious.